Mrs. Smith has cervical cancer. I wanted to sell my house to fund her treatment, but the real estate agent told me the property deed was faked. It had been swapped out. I was about to call the police when, standing outside my door, I heard Mrs. Smith tell her son that I was the one with cancer. They were waiting for me to die so they could seize all my belongings once I'm gone. Mrs. Smith, having fulfilled Wag Session. I've hidden all the assets. A woman without a uterus is worse than a dog when the time comes. I'll find you a new wife. Her son, Mom, once we get the money, I'll take you traveling. As for Sarah, the sooner she dies, the better. If that's how it is, I'll just have to see how you get by without me. When Mrs. Smith and I left the hospital together, my face was full of concern. I really couldn't bear to break the news to her. Mrs. Smith, who had just retired, hadn't even gotten to enjoy a single day of ease before being struck with one of the deadliest cancers for women, cervical cancer. I replayed the doctor's words in my head. Even removing the uterus might not save her. The cancer has spread too fast. It's already terminal. You should start preparing. Mrs. Smith has suffered most of her life. She raised the man I married, a husband who's supposed to be thrifty and responsible. I couldn't let her go like this. Besides, it's all the rage now, women supporting women. After hesitating, I kept it from my parents and took the house they'd transferred to me before my marriage to the real estate agency, ready to list it, but the salesperson glanced at the deed and pushed it back, saying it was forged. He even called the manager, threatening to report me for counterfeiting and have me arrested. My parents transferred this house to me. How could it be fake? I snapped. The manager pointed a finger at my forehead, sneering. Your parents might not have lied to you, but what about your spouse? This fake is laughably bad. It doesn't even have an official stamp. Can't even bother to make it look real. His words left me bewildered amidst the onlookers' murmurs. I fled the agency in a panic. Clouds of confusion hung over me the whole way home. I nearly ran several red lights. I was about to open the door to ask my husband what was going on when I heard him chatting excitedly on the phone. Mary, once my wife dies, I'll marry you right away. Mary is a business partner from my company lately. She's been coming to our house a lot to go over contracts. My husband's affectionate voice came through the door, and my brain froze, stopping all thought. The day she came back from the hospital, her face was as white as a sheet. My mom said she's got cervical cancer, terminal. Unlike my gloom, my husband David Smith's voice trembled with excitement, rising to a shout. So what if she's got money? When she dies, all her inheritance will be mine. My mom had her fortune. Told you and I are meant to be. We'll definitely have a big, healthy baby boy. Whatever you want to buy then, just say the word. I'll take you all to Turkey for a romantic trip. Mary laughed loudly on the other end, tossing in crude jokes about David's stamina that had him cackling like a fool. House until she dies. My time's valuable. David made a show of reaching out to caress the air, swallowing hard. Just a few months. Let's start looking at wedding venues first. I stood frozen outside, listening as David hung up, sounding perfectly satisfied, then instantly slipped back into his usual mild-mannered act. What a performer. I was so enraged my head spun. I slammed a hand against the door. Last week, for International Women's Day, the company provided a benefit. Each female employee could bring a family member for a checkup. I'd taken Mrs. Smith along when the results came in. It was Mrs. Smith who had that deadly cervical cancer, so I planned to raise the huge surgery fees first before telling her. But that illiterate country woman turned right around and told her son I was the one dying. And my husband. I'd thought his reluctance to spend money was just thrift. Turns out he's been squandering his cash on his mistress. I'm the one working to support the whole family. Only to have him steal my property deed and wait for me to drop dead. The angrier I got, the calmer I became. I called my parents, saying I might need to stay with them for a few days. I also got in touch with my best friend, whom I hadn't seen in ages. We booked a full-body spa. Wandered around shopping for quite a while, and I bought myself a big gold bracelet. I lifted it, feeling its weight. Spending money on myself feels amazing. Most importantly, I stashed away Mrs. Smith's cervical cancer diagnosis. If you want me dead, let's see who ends up 6 feet under in the end. With everything set, I returned home feeling relaxed. both physically and mentally. When Mrs. Smith saw me walk in, her face turned stern. "What time do you call this? Hurry up and cook, we've been starving for ages." She ordered me around, pulling me toward the kitchen. Her eyes lit up when she spotted my new bracelet. "Gold prices are sky right now. Who told you to waste money like this? Don't you know how little time you have left? That money would be better saved for my son to make a comeback. If you're buying jewelry, you should have gotten one for me too. What did your mother teach you?" I stared at her coldly, my gaze was cold and unfamiliar. So they're not even pretending to get me treatment anymore. They're just fixated on my assets. All their past kindness was an act. Mrs. Smith kept nagging. But I rolled my eyes, turned around, and flopped onto the couch to watch TV. David noticed my mood and took my hand, sneaking a few hard touches on the gold bracelet. "Honey, don't take Mom's words to heart. We all have to bow to reality. Right? You've got a few months left. Tell us any wishes you have. Don't leave with regrets." Mrs. Smith tossed the clothes in her hand, planted her hands on her hips, and pointed at me. "Regrets? She's lucky to have married into our family." "Regrets? Other families would have rushed to divorce their son from someone with this disease. It's only our Smith family's kindness that's letting her keep her reputation." Once his mother had said her piece, David pouted, gave me a meaningful look, and switched to his nice guy act. "Sarah, don't mind Mom. She's uneducated. But you're not. You know how much treating this costs, right? We borrowed money to marry you. We don't have a cent left for your treatment. As for the house, just leave it to me. It'll mean your love for me wasn't in vain." My heart skipped a beat. I slowly looked up, studying the man I'd been married to for 3 years. The doctor hadn't even pronounced me dead. And this whole family was already eyeing my money and house. They wouldn't even give me a glimmer of hope, just flat out said no treatment. To think I'd spent the day planning to sell the house to save Mrs. Smith. I was such a fool. I fixed my gaze on David, asking one question. "Do you really want me to die?" David darted his eyes away, too scared to meet mine. "Blame it on your bad luck for getting this disease. But we've been married 3 years. Rest easy. I'll give you a grand funeral. Think of it as going to heaven early to bless us." At that, Mrs. Smith started crying. Though not for me. She was pitying her son. "My poor boy, married to a barren woman who can't even give him a son." Then she whipped her head toward me. "I'm telling you, since you couldn't carry on David's family line, you'll never get on our genealogy. As compensation, you'll transfer the house to us at youth. You wasted these 3 years." I was stunned by their warped logic. But I didn't panic at all. After all, I'm not the one with cervical cancer. Watching David's over-the-top performance, I couldn't resist goading. "Honey, if it were Mrs. Smith with cervical cancer, would you refuse to treat her too?" David froze for a second, then slapped me hard. "Sarah, are you testing me? How dare you talk about my mother like that? Do you know how hard she worked to raise me? You don't even wash her clothes, cook for her, or show her filial piety. You run out every chance you get. Does that sound like a daughter-in-law?" Mrs. Smith watched her son hit me. Far from stopping him, she even smirked triumphantly. "Good for you. David, teach her to curse me. Apologize to me right now." I hung my head, hiding my eyes. They took my meekness for submission, growing more arrogant. When I bent down, Mrs. Smith thought I was going to kneel and beg forgiveness instead. I grabbed her old waist, flipped her over my shoulder, and slammed her to the ground. "We'll see if it's a curse." David jumped up to stop me when he saw his mother on the floor. "Sarah, you hit my mom, for what? A few words?" I scoffed at him. "What? I get sick and I have to die. But if your mom gets sick, we'd sell the house to save her?" "Honey, you're misunderstanding. I didn't say no treatment. But don't sell the house." Mrs. Smith wailed on the floor, pounding it with her hands. Her hair wild. "Hospitals are all liars. I can't watch you throw money to strangers." My husband hugged me too. "Just accept your fate. We'll all be husband and wife in the next life." Watching them tag team, I finally got it. No hospital, no selling the house for treatment. They probably love me to transfer all my money to them right now. What a malicious scheme. Mrs. Smith was sobbing loudly, acting like she couldn't bear to lose me. So I started crying too, clinging to David's hand. "Honey, I haven't even had a son with you. I can't die with such regret." Why don't we arrange a posthumous marriage? That way, I won't be alone down there. The words made both of them jump. Honey, I am white, I'm isn't up yet. That doesn't seem right. What's wrong with it? Didn't you say we're husband and wife for life? And that we'll be together in the next life too? David's face paled further. Honey, don't be so pessimistic. Luckily, hadn't fulfilled I'd say. I asked Mary to find Master Jing Kong. They say even cancer can be cured at his place. Jing Kong was a local monk. All he did was beg for money. And he was useless at anything else. Faft Master? More like a fraud. Looking at David's eager expression, the last shred of hope in me died. So his idea of treatment was dumping me at a temple to die. I faked wiping tears. Honey, you're so thoughtful. I knew you wouldn't give up on me. David smirked proudly. I glanced at Mrs. Smith, then added, cervical cancer rates are so high among women these days. Why don't Mrs. Smith come with me? Just to be safe. I play along now. I wasn't letting either of them off the hook at my suggestion. Mrs. Smith stepped back instantly. David, seeing his plan almost work, frantically signaled his mother. It wasn't him going. So he didn't care who suffered as long as he got what he wanted. Mom, you've been mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Just go keep Sarah company for the last time. Then right in front of me, he booked a 5-star hotel near the temple, saying I wouldn't suffer while cultivating. Honey, don't worry, the master said. 3 months at the earliest. A year at most, and you'll definitely recover. Right. Honey. I'll be unsafe out there alone. Buy me some insurance. Will you? If something really happens to me, you and Mom will have something to fall back on. David's eyes lit up at once. With insurance? He'd get a huge payout when I died. Without a second thought, he started signing me up. Just then, I added, buying it just for me isn't enough, you have to get one for Mom too. After all, we're going together, you can't play favorites. David was reluctant, but seeing how insistent I was, he grit his teeth and bought one for his mother too, still thinking you'll collect the money when I die. It'll be your mother's payout you're collecting. And so, I took Mrs. Smith to the temple to cultivate. David wasn't idle. He brought Mary to our house for dates every day. What he didn't know was that I'd already installed surveillance cameras at home. Mrs. Smith initially joined me in eating vegetarian meals and chanting. But after a few days, she couldn't stand it while I was away. She packed her things and snuck off. Good riddance. I wasn't there to chant either, so I left too, heading straight to my best friend's place. To my surprise, Mrs. Smith had blocked me on WeChat to keep me from finding her. Through my friend's phone, I saw she was busy arranging David and Mary's wedding. She even posted chat screenshots on her moments, Mary currying favor, saying how once she married into the Smiths, her first job would be giving David a son, then a daughter a year later, aiming for 2 kids in 3 years. There was also plenty of slander about me, calling me a barren hen and worse on Mrs. Smith's video channel. Her belly looked swollen, clearly a prolapsed uterus. Her complexion was worse than before, but she blamed it on the temple's vegetarian diet. I put down the phone, brushing off the mess, then bought 2 plane tickets. My friend and I went abroad for a trip. When we returned, the housing authority had reissued my property deed. This time, I kept it safely at my parents' house. With everything sorted, I swaggered back to David's and my home that night. I opened the door to find Mary curled up in David's arms, lying on the expensive massage mattress I'd splurged on years ago. Her hand was hooked around his neck, muttering, darling husband. And my dear Mrs. Smith? She was in the kitchen making them a midnight snack. The woman who'd once refused to even boil me a bowl of noodles was now cooking abalone for them. And the house was unrecognizable. The plants I'd carefully tended were withering, in their place were tasteless like Audi decorations. 3 years of marriage, and in 3 days. Mrs. Smith froze when she saw me. Sarah, you're back? I gave her a sideways glance. What? I'm the legally wedded wife. Am I not allowed to come home? Is this house now Mary's, the homewrecker? David, intimidated by my tone, quickly pulled on a shirt and shielded Mary behind him. Sarah, it's not what you think. David fumbled for an explanation. But Mary wasn't having it. David, I'm your wife now. She pointed at me. You're not still scared of this dying woman, are you? What can she do to you? Mrs. Smith heard the argument and joined in, shrilling, Sarah. You can't expect my son to stay a widower with no one to take care of him. Men can't hold back. What if it kills my boy? Mary preened, jiggling her chest. David said he'll marry me when you die, but if you know what's good for you, you'll back out now. After all, you can't have kids. You're not even a real woman. What man would want you? Mrs. Smith chimed in, it's not just barrenness, she's got cervical cancer. Her uterus is rotting away. With both women egging him on, David forgot his awkwardness. Mama's right. Don't blame us. You're the one with this terrible disease. But before David could finish, Mrs. Smith let out a scream, clutching her stomach in agony. A large pool of blood soaked through her clothes, and her pants bulged grotesquely. Prolapsed uterus. Severe bleeding. It was already terminal. David's arrogance vanished instantly. His eyes filled with terror. What's wrong? I turned around, laughing, and pointed at the bulge in Mrs. Smith's pants. You didn't minnow. Your son took out a huge insurance policy on you. He has just waiting for you to die of cancer so he can cash in. I shot a glance at the equally terrified Mary. Negotiating contracts at someone else's husband's house. You've got quite the range of services. One might think your company specializes in door-to-door visits. Mary's face flushed scarlet. If this got back to her company, she'd definitely lose her job. Mrs. Smith, still unaware she was the one with cancer, kept up her bluff. David, don't listen to her nonsense. It's just my period. I can still have kids. She can't. She's just jealous. Mary chimed in, exactly. Mom's perfectly healthy. The medical report said so. David, emboldened, puffed out his chest and shouted at me, Sarah. I know you're bluffing. Cut the crap and transfer the house to me, and we can part amicably. My mom's over 60 and still hasn't hit menopause. As for you, don't die in my house. I scoffed, calmly pulling out Mrs. Smith's original medical report and slapping it in front of him. David, open your eyes. Your mom's bleeding because she's in the final stages of cervical cancer. Not because she hasn't hit menopause. With imaginations this wild, why aren't you two writing novels? The doctor said she has at most 3 months. You'd better start preparing. Don't want to miss the funeral while the grave's still warm. Mrs. Smith, illiterate, couldn't read the report, but she edged in pain. David froze, swaying unsteadily, staring at the black hand-white proof. He had no choice but to believe me. Mary, sensing disaster, lunged to tear up the report, but David stopped her, slapping her hard across the face. Crack. Smith, you dare hit me? Mary's eyes widened in disbelief. She shook David's arms frantically, and when he didn't budge, she turned on me. It's all your fault. You clinging leech. You'll never ruin my relationship with my husband. David, briefly lucid, grabbed Mary's arm and dragged her toward the door. Get out. Who's your husband? Look at yourself. Used up and worthless, yet you still want to latch onto me. Mary sobbed hysterically, unable to process it. You're lying. You're just stringing me along to close the deal, aren't you? I watched them brawl, sneering silently. Men were all the same. They picked whoever benefited them. Now that Mary was useless, he tossed her aside like trash. Before, thinking I had incurable cancer, he'd wanted a young, pretty woman to bear his children. Now that he knew it was his mom dying and I was fine, he groveled, terrified I'd divorce him and leave him penniless. It took me 3 years to see through this man. Mrs. Smith lay on the floor, wailing. Even she, uneducated as she was, finally grasped the situation. David, is it really me? That's impossible. The day we left the hospital, her face looked like death warmed over. She crawled across the floor, picking up the blood-stained report and staring at it upside down for ages. When David nodded, she couldn't take it anymore. Her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. David collapsed onto the floor, his face ashen, as if struck by lightning. Mom, if you go, what'll I do? Sarah, I know you have money. Please, find a way to save her. I don't want the house anymore. I'm sorry. Sell it to save Mom. She's my only mother. I can't lose her. David knelt at my feet, tears and snot mixing, clinging to the leg of my trousers. I kicked him away in disgust. Didn't you say getting this disease is just bad luck? Blame your mom's bad luck. What do you want from me? Or better yet, send her to Master Jing Kong. He'll cure her in a year. Guaranteed. Watching David's miserable face, I felt surprisingly good. Sarah. Please. I'll break up with Mary right away. You Ray still my wife. Forgive me. Sell the house to save Mom. I glanced at him to be honest. I've already transferred the house to my parents' name. Pack your things, you're moving out tomorrow. What? This is the wedding house your parents bought for us. You can't just take it back without my permission. Mrs. Smith stirred. Her voice weak but eyes venomous. David, don't listen to her. I hid the deed. She couldn't have transferred it. I laughed coldly. Old witch, it's my house. I just reported the deed lost and got a new one. Speaking of stealing my deed, want me to call the police and have you arrested? The shock was too much for Mrs. Smith. Her mind went blank, but David caught on seeing my resolve. He pointed at me, shouting, my mom was right, you're a poisonous woman. Your heart's black as coal. You take the house, and where will Mom and I go? Sleep under a bridge? All these years. Mom doted on you for nothing. You refused to treat her and kick us out. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution? I sighed, wondering how I'd been so love-struck to marry him. David rambled on. But I'd heard enough. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Mary blocked me, begging me not to expose her as a homewrecker. I smiled back. Thanks for the reminder. I'll make a banner and hang it outside your company. Closing deals in someone else's husband's bed. You've got real talent. Before leaving, I hummed a tune and said to David, hurry up and find a grave for your mom. Die now. And she'll make it for King Ming. I drove my car back to my parents' place. They waited at the door. And as soon as I walked in, the familiar smell of home-cooked food hit me. No more toxic Mrs. Smith. No more useless husband. For the first time in ages, I felt truly free. But we'd barely started eating when David dragged his mother over and banged on our door. They'd hauled suitcases and bags with them. Camping out in our building's hallway. Sarah, please. Forgive me. Save my mom. David grabbed my hand, clinging on for dear life. It's all Mary's fault. She said we should trust Master Jing Kong, that she'd give me sons. I was stupid for a moment. But I've realized I love you most. We made it through 4 years of college, struggled to get married 7 years total. We're the real deal. If we get through this, we'll be happy forever. David pulled his mother over. Her pants still soaked with blood. Sarah, from the day you came into our home, I knew you were a good girl. You can't just let me die. Mrs. Smith croaked weakly. Just save me. And I'll make my son treat you like a queen for life. I'll even give you all my savings, please. A few months ago, I might have caved. Their act was convincing enough. If this mess hadn't exposed them, they'd have fooled me forever. But now I knew their true colors. I grew up wealthy, countless men courted me. I defied my parents to marry David only because he pursued me relentlessly, showering me with sweet talk and gifts, catering to my every mood. He'd trek across campus in downpours just to bring me an umbrella every morning. He'd buy my breakfast and wait downstairs. Just because I'd mentioned skipping meals gave me stomachaches. Even on dates, he'd work part-time to earn the money, refusing to let me spend a cent despite knowing my family's means. Proof, he said, of his manly responsibility. I'd been touched by those little gestures. For him, I'd fallen out with my parents, who'd hated the idea of me marrying a man with no house. They relented only when I'd insisted, buying us a 3-bedroom apartment. Now I saw clearly David's desperate pursuit was all for my family's money. As an only child, I was their ticket to seizing everything my parents owned. Their kindness, all lies after marriage. I'd felt bad for him, letting him stop spending on me only for him to take his mistress traveling, lying about business trips. Once he'd landed me, there was no need to pretend anymore. His true self had seeped through the first time I met Mrs. Smith. She'd grabbed my hands warmly and slipped a jade bracelet on my wrist. It's our family heirloom for daughters-in-law, she'd said. From the second I saw you, I knew you belonged with us. I'd been touched to tears later. I'd learned that priceless bracelet was a cheap street vendor's knockoff. Not even worth 100 yuan. Thinking of how they treated me like a fool made my blood run cold. David, give it up. You still think I'm some sucker? Do I look like the Poverty Relief Bureau, here to bankroll your family? David froze. Shocked I'd stripped away all pretense. He still saw me as the docile wife I'd been. He shot Mrs. Smith a look. She caught on instantly, dropping to the ground wailing, "Sarah, I know you're angry. It's my fault I'm a burden, but David still loves you. Hate me, not him. I know you've suffered. I'll make it up to you. I swear. Just give me a chance to live." I fought down the nausea. "Spare me the drama. I'm not the naive, gullible Sarah anymore. Didn't you say anyone with this disease is a burden to their family? Your son's so capable. Let him save you. My parents and I are happy now. Leave us alone." I turned to go. But David grabbed me again, his voice tight with suppressed rage. "Sarah, I'm not asking for money. I'll work, I'll do anything, but someone has to be with Mom in the hospital. For whatever's left of our past. Can't you at least make sure she isn't in pain?" I wrenched my hand free. "Your mother. Your responsibility. She's not mine. Even if she dies in that hospital, it's none of my business. Let go." After begging for so long with no luck, Mrs. Smith dropped the act. She dragged her failing body to block our door. "Sarah, you can't abandon me. I'll die right here on your doorstep if I have to. And haunt you as a ghost. I'm telling you, I'm still your legal mother-in-law. You can't neglect me. I can see you for this." David silently gave her a thumbs up. No doubt he coached her. A country woman who couldn't read a word. She'd never know a thing about the law. "I don't care. Give me $1 million, or I'm staying right here. Let's see how you face people then." Mrs. Smith planted her hands on her hips, blood still seeping. Her voice faint but brimming with shamelessness. David glared at me. "To Sarah. If my mom dies because of you, I'll make you bury with her." The mother and son had finally dropped all pretense just now. All that remorse and promises. Turns out it was still about my money. Now that they saw I wouldn't give in, their true colors showed. I made to close the door, shooting him a glare. "If your mom dies, wouldn't you get that $1 million insurance payout? The reason you're not rushing her to the hospital right now is exactly that. Isn't it?" David's face paled. He lunged for me. But I slammed the door shut, making him faceplant into it. Mrs. Smith stared at David in disbelief, pointing a shaky finger. "David, when did you take out a huge insurance policy on me?" Me. Don't listen to her. She's just trying to turn us against each other. I need the hospital. Take me to the hospital now." Mrs. Smith collapsed to the floor, screaming frantically, but her weak body, like a deflated paper tiger, had no authority left to wield. Scared she might actually die, David quickly hailed a taxi and rushed her to the hospital. I shut the door, went back to finish dinner with my parents, and booked a plane tickets that night. My best friend and I were off to Italy. European architecture in the open, vibrant culture healed my soul for a while. I forgot all about Mrs. Smith and David. Maybe fate took pity on me during this time. I threw myself back into my career, expanded my business, launched a new company, and landed several foreign exchange deals, raking in good money. It turns out there's truth to the saying, scum men and toxic in-laws really do block your luck. After dropping Mrs. Smith at the hospital, David couldn't reach me. He turned to Mary, begging her for money for treatment, but Mary, seeing through his tricks, made a scene at the hospital and nearly pulled out Mrs. Smith's breathing tube. Mrs. Smith, enraged, slipped into a coma. The hospital, out of humanitarianness, spent all night resuscitating her as her cervical cancer worsened. Doctors told David she had about a month left. When Mary refused to fall for his lies, David called me again, only to find he'd long been blocked. He sat crying in the hospital hallway for hours, ignored by everyone. I showed up at the hospital only on the day Mrs. Smith was truly dying, not to pay her medical bills, though, to watch the show. I arrived in style, carrying my new Louis Vuitton bag, driving my sports car. The second I stepped into the ward, the stench hit me, stinging my eyes. Mrs. Smith lay on the bed like a lump of rotting flesh, neglected by David. She developed huge bed sores, the sheets soaked in foul pus, reeking like a sewer. The table was cluttered with leftover takeout, spoiled by the looks of it. David, seemingly oblivious, sat on a small stool, dark circles under his eyes, brows drooping. He was a world away from the lazy, freeloading man he'd been 3 months prior. Back then, he'd worn designer clothes, scheming after Mary. Now, penniless, he looked like a beggar. Mrs. Smith's breath came weakly when she saw me. She lifted a feeble hand, waving me over. Sarah. Sarah's here is here. My good daughter-in-law, I missed you so much. I knew you had a heart. Unlike that bitch Mary. You wouldn't let me die, would you? I'm still your mother-in-law. After all. You're a good girl, go pay the medical fees. I couldn't help laughing. She actually thought I'd come to save her. As if someone who'd scorned me daily, snapped at me over every little thing, deserved saving. I found a clean spot to sit. Crossing my legs. Hospitals are all scammers, those were your exact words. So why would I hand over money to them? Mrs. Smith froze, struggling to speak. Tears spilling. Sarah, I was wrong before, save me. I don't want to die. David grabbed my trouser leg too, his eyes greedy for money. Sarah. A night as husband and wife means 100 days of affection. Don't hold a grudge, please? I recoiled like I'd touched something filthy. David, who's husband and wife with you? I filed for divorce. We're long done. Don't flatter yourself. You just watch my mom die? You're so cruel. David flew into a rage. Too impatient to even pretend. I watched him like he was a performing monkey. I never said that. You two were the ones saying dying early means blessing the family. Think of it as your mom blessing you in advance. Or save the money for her treatment to rebuild your life. My words cut like knives. Finally. Goaded by me, Mrs. Smith snapped. Sarah. You bitch. If you hadn't hidden my diagnosis, I wouldn't be like this. You owe me. She lashed out, knocking things over only to yank out her own oxygen tube by accident. Her voice faded. Until it vanished entirely. If anyone owes anyone, it's you two who owe me. Save the rest for Yama. David stared, wide-eyed, as Mrs. Smith died in front of him. He gasped, lunging at me. Sarah. You killed her. I'll kill you. Just as he charged, hospital staff rushed in, pinning him to the ground. He howled, biting a doctor, blindly earning himself a sedative injection. Watching the chaos, I smirked, brushed dust off my shoulder, and walked out of the hospital, feeling lighter than air. A month passed. When I returned from my branch office, colleagues told me Mary had been fired for her messy private life, tarnishing the company's reputation, and stealing trade secrets she'd been blacklisted, and no company would hire her now. Of course, I was the one who put up that banner exposing her affairs. As for David, unable to find me, he'd gone back to Mary, only to be stabbed by her, left half dead. The insurance he'd taken out on his mom. Fake. Just a show to fool me back then. Now, penniless, he lay in the hospital corridor, surviving on the cheapest meds, lingering on they couldn't hurt me anymore. Hearing my colleagues recount it, I sighed. They brought this on themselves. No one's to blame but them. When David finally died, it was the community hospital that handled his body. They decontacted me first, but our divorce had been finalized. I was no longer related to him. I refused to deal with their funerals now. I'm not just wealthy. I doubled down on fitness. Becoming a total wealthy lady. Guys line up to court me, from Starbucks all the way to the old-style private school. I travel with my best friend. Explore China's stunning landscapes. Shop, boost the economy. Life's never been better. My parents have urged me to find someone to keep me company. I agreed, but now I have my own rules for choosing men. I can give love, but never money.